Next person that says Merry Christmas to me, I'll kill him.
Why does everyone give me fruitcake for Christmas? I hate fruitcake.
Well, I just can't say no to Santa Claus.
So kids, if you want presents from Schmanta this year, don't put out milk and cookies, put out lox and bagels. And call your mother, she's very worried about you.
There it is. The holy grail of Christmas gifts, the Red Ryder 200-shot range model air rifle.
Tonight, my dear Pinky, our plan is unfurled. We'll steal Santa's sleigh and take over the world.
Jingle bells, Batman smelt, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, and the Joker got away.
Oh, you're caroling. That is so odd.
Hey guys, what's going on? It is time for the ThisWeekInGeek.net's annual holiday gift guide. I am one of your jolly hosts today. I am Mike the Birdman. Very happy to be here. I'm joined by my eccentric and eclectic co-host from the great land of Kitchener.
Alex the Producer. I would take offense to what you called me, but it's entirely accurate.
It's true. It is factually and verified to be true. So anyway, guys, we are here on the annual holiday gift guide. We've been doing this for well over 10 years, and it is an exciting time that we love to get together. We love to look at some of the product and material that we've gotten for review over the past year to share with you. And this is the stuff that we have personally taken a look at to that has been approved for us. Now, sometimes we get some things on Holiday Gift Guide that come way too late for consideration, but will likely be in shows very early next year, just from the way things kind of work out. So if you see, hey, why didn't you cover this game? Or why didn't you talk about this? Sometimes it just came in too late, and I'm not like Alex and can play 36 hours straight. So let's just get that straight out of the way.
Or there might be a couple items in here that a formal review has not come out yet, but that was finished technically before this recording. So it will get mentioned here and the review comes a little later.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a matter of radio magic. It's just how the kind of timing works out with like things like this. So we're also going to do things a little bit differently than how we've done previous years. Because we got so much cool shit this year, we're going to do stocking stuffers. And what this is going to be kind of a rapid fire thing. We're not going to talk about a lot of these. These are going to be a lot of no-brainer things like just buy these. Trust me, they are awesome. And they will probably not break the bank too much. And we're also going to have a couple honorable mentions, things that we would love to talk about a little bit more in depth, but they probably don't necessarily belong on a full pick just because they are so in depth. And some of these products may have already been reviewed earlier this year. So I'm going to start things off in the spirit of the holidays with one of the Game Award nominees this year, which this game got robbed, but the fact that it was nominated warms my heart. And this one comes to us from .emu or MU. I still can't pronounce it. Even the PR rep Tinsley's like, okay, Mike, try this. I'm talking about.
I think it's .emu.
I think so. I'm pretty sure. So I'm sorry.
It's European. We're sorry.
But this one is so solid a pick. Me and Alex loved playing this game earlier this year. TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Pick this up on any platform. You're going to have a fantastic time. It is the best Turtles game that has ever been made. Those are fighting words. I will fight you in the street. I defend it. So the second pick on my holiday gift guide is a Christmas classic. This just came out on 4K, and it is literally shown, if you're in Canada, on CBC, on CTV, on every network imaginable. And it always gets pulled from every single streaming service, I might add, around this time of year, which is why you're going to pick it up in 4K. This one's coming to us from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm talking about Christmas Vacation. Do I even need to tell you what this one's about? I mean, really? I mean, come on, Clark, the shitter's full.
I didn't see the full movie uncensored until like 5 years ago.
It is such a part of Christmas. It is integral. I mean, even going back to my grandparents when they were alive and we had Christmases, we always managed to find time to watch this together. And it's just a part of who me and Blair are as a family. This next movie I'm going to pick is another stocking stuffer classic. And this also just came out on 4K for me anyway. And that is A Christmas Story. And if you live in the States or have access to premium cable on TBS or Peachtree, I guess, I seem to recall them doing 24 hours of A Christmas Story. You'll shoot your eye out. He wants the Red Ryder BB rifle. This movie's a classic, and they just made a sequel on HBO Max. I still haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm going to have to borrow someone's HBO Max account.
And guess what? I have never seen this movie.
Honestly, Alex, this is, you know what? This might be something for us to do for a commentary, because it's such a good movie.
I was just thinking maybe Christmas special sometime, if not this year, who knows?
Yeah.
Because my honest, as a kid, I was like, this looks old. And then I'm thinking as an adult now, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not that guy that says that sort of thing. Everybody loves this movie. I have to go back and actually watch it.
And one of the cool things is about it, the guy who owns the house featured in this movie ran a museum there, and he just sold it after owning it for over 30 years. Part of this movie was shot in Canada, in St. Catharines, which is kind of awesome. My last two picks, these are this one is something that I just managed to send to Alex for gift guide consideration, but if he wasn't going to cover it, I was going to. This one comes to us from 2K Games. This is some of the most fun I had this summer. If you want to kind of get out of the holiday spirit and experience what is a virtual playable movie that is so much fun and randomly featuring David Arquette, The Quarry. And I do not want to say too much more about it, but it's basically an interactive movie that you play through, kind of like that Dark Pictures anthology or Until Dawn sort of thing. It is just frigging amazing. There's multiple modes. There are tons of different paths and decisions to make. It's fun on Xbox Series X. This game looked exceptional.
I'm going to dig into it. It's just we were in the middle of review Mageddon right here.
Oh my God. So
right?
much so.
We're just caught up to the point where it's like, after this episode comes out, guess what I'm checking out?
Yep, same here. You better not bother me. And then my final pick for a stocking stuffer. This one, I'm so glad that Paramount Home Entertainment sent this one over. This is the complete series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2012 version. All 5 seasons, over 120 episodes. This is the best Turtles has ever been. Solid storytelling, great voice acting. You had weird things like Ice Cream Kitty. James Hong shows up as a guest actor.
Because James Hong always shows up and he's amazing in everything.
I remember Jason Biggs was my Leonardo. Do not get me wrong. I love Cam Clark as the original 1987.
I was going to say, whoa now, strong words.
I know.
But you know what?
He's so
but
good.
You know what? You're not the first person I've heard say that either.
Yeah, like the series is utterly fantastic, and it was so well produced, had an astounding range of toys from Playmates. It's easily one of the best things I have ever watched involving the Turtles property. It's utterly recommended. So my honorable mentions, I'm just going to rapid fire through these because we only have 3. The first one is a role-playing game from Free League Publishing, and that is the One Ring RPG. If you want to go back and find my full review of that, you can look back through our archives. And the main reason I'm picking this as a honorable mention, the Rings of Power series from Amazon took us back to Middle-earth earlier this year. People are starting to talk about The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, all things J.R.R. Tolkien are hot again. And just the fact that you can play this either in a really fantastic starter set, you can buy the core book. Free League is really starting to up their kind of splat books. So if the blood of Numenor runs deep in your veins, if you want to be like Strider / Aragon, you can do that. It's fantastic. I love it. My next one, I'm not even going to say much about this because it's such a strong game. This one comes from Sega and Atlas. Persona 5 Royal on the Xbox Series X. Finally, the contract has been signed, and you can now play Persona on Xbox. It's one of my all-time favorite games. Not going to lie, it's a bit of an emotional gut punch, but if you're willing to let the game...
It's a good gut punch. It's
yeah,
not...
It doesn't hurt.
It plays all of the emotions and the hero's journey.
Yeah, like it's such a game that if you're willing to turn the inner eye towards yourself and think about how you would react to these situations, yes, it's a fantastical setting, but I find you discover a lot about yourself, and I find the best stories often make you think. So I can't recommend it enough.
For the first time ever, 60 frames per second, because the original game was 30.
Yeah.
So and being a turn-based RPG, it felt like 60 when I first played it, and we played it on the PS4. Until you see it now, you're like, whoa, the animations are more fluid.
Yeah.
That's the main difference, right? It's the running and the animation cuts, like the in-game cutscenes.
Yeah, like it's seriously so hot a game. I can't recommend it enough. And then finally, Wizards of the Coast knocked it out of this year. We had Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. We got Spelljammer for the first time. But the one I'm going to recommend this year is the most recent release, because Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has not gone back to this setting in a very long time. This is the first time it's in 5th edition, I think, and that's Dungeons & Dragons Dragonlance. I'm just going to get the proper title here, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. And the main reason I'm recommending it is because me as a person who loves D&D, I'm intimidated by lore. Dragonlance is one of the oldest settings from the world of Kryn. Like, I'm talking 30 plus years of history. This one doesn't need you to understand the Wikipedia of Dungeons and Dragons. It sets it in a part of the War of the Lance where you don't have to know a crap ton, and you use this as an introduction for you to learn. It's a great adventure path. You can learn so much. There's a super deluxe edition of this game that's like a board game that helps you play things out. There's an awesome special edition as well. There are 3 versions of this. Ultimately, D&D has done fantastic work. I've yet to have a year in recent memory where I don't recommend some D&D products, because they are that strong. And that comes to us from Wizards of the Coast. Highly recommended if you want to take you and your adventures back to one of the most classic and iconic settings for D&D. This is the thing for you. So, Alex, I pass it to you. What do you got for your stocking stuffers, my friend?
All right. Well, my stocking stuffers, as well as my whole guide, it's a sampling of sort of all the different types of things that we received. And in some cases, some stuff in my main guide were also things that I purchased for myself that we didn't receive for review. And I just thought so strongly of them, I had to talk about them. But for stocking stuffers, I want to start with the Asmodee board games. Now, I was trying to decide which one in particular. And I went, you know what? Either the regular ones or the Access Plus ones, which are the ones that have been developed for adapting the rules for people with cognitive disabilities. And so you have the options of playing like any of their regular line games or having custom ones for it. So I'm putting links in the description here for it, because they're ranging in price as well. Some of them are like $10, some of them are like $20. They're perfect stocking stuffers, and they're not, your average. It's like when you think of board games, you're like, oh, the Game of Life, oh, Snakes and Ladders. No, these are great, inventive, family-friendly, adaptive games that anybody can play. You can pick them up. There's not like a ton of parts. Most of them are card-based games, but easy to follow, and a lot of interactivity, scalable from 1 to 4 or 5 players in most cases. And they're just something that it's kind of thing that not everybody has their games. So I think that they're just a good thing to put in. My number 2 pick is Reacher Season 1 on Blu-ray. Now, did you see the Jack Reacher movies?
I did. Actually, I reviewed them on the show earlier this year when I came back from surgery, and I loved them.
Okay, because I remember hearing about the show coming out, and then I forgot about it, like, completely, right? And then I kept hearing buzz about them, like, wait a minute. Okay, well, I'll have to go watch this. And then I was sent a copy for review, and the review has not come out yet because it came in not enough time to watch a whole season, you know what I mean? But in what I've seen so far, I'm like, wow, this is really good. And it's apparently closer to the book series and I like the Tom Cruise movies, right? But this has like 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize it was going to be like the big new show this year, or one of the big new, action adventure shows. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, and it's reasonably priced as a stocking stuffer. It looks like on sale under $30 for the season on Blu-ray, which is darn good for a new release.
Mm-hmm.
My third pick is Bullet Train. Whether you get it in 4K or regular Blu-ray, either way, you're going to be happy with it. If you get the 4K copy, it includes the Blu-ray and a digital copy with it. It's only like $2 or $3 more, so I would say go with that. but this was probably the most fun surprise of the year.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I saw this movie on a whim in August, and I loved it. It was so much fun.
And there's like little Easter eggs you can see in it. There's some fun behind the scenes stuff. Very colorful. It's a great movie to like get you out of the doldrums of life in 2022. So it's a great stocking stuffer. Plus, you can't go wrong with a Brad Pitt movie, right? So my fourth pick here is one, again, where review is forthcoming in one of our episodes that's going to come, I'm not sure when soon, but very soon, and that is Chained Echoes. That is the indie RPG that, as of this recording, released today, but I received an early review copy and was able to blast my way through it. And I am going to say this right now. It's not just the best indie JRPG I've played. It is almost standing toe-to-toe with Chrono Trigger.
Wow.
It is that close. There's a couple little things that you could polish in it to make it a little better, and you'll hear that in my review. But this is, depending on what platform you're going for in Canada, it's looking somewhere in the realm of $30. And it is one of the best games released this year that you can pick up. And if you get it on Steam, if you want to get it as a gift for somebody, you can gift it through there. Or if you're looking to get somebody a bunch of, let's say, points for their Nintendo or for the PlayStation, this is something that I think a lot of people would like if you wanted to load up a system with it. And my final pick of the stocking stuffers is one of the PDP Afterglow Wave Xbox controllers. Now, we've covered a lot of their controllers in the past, but these have like a hyper neon futuristic look to them. They're super awesome looking. If you're looking to get into streaming or just have a tricked out LED set up in your place, they're good build quality, wired controller, detachable cable so you can replace it if you need to. It's got the button on it for the sharing button that's on the Xbox Series X. It's one of the first lines that they've done where it's dedicated to work on both Xbox One and Series X. And just a solid third-party controller that if you have people come over or you want to have something dedicated for your computer, you can just break out anytime. It's always good to have an extra controller. And we all know that first-party controllers are getting expensive now. So you're looking at half the price of getting one that's an official wireless controller. So that's always good. And my honorable mentions, this is where I had the hardest time because there's a few things here where I was like, do I want to include them in the main guide? Do I not? They're good, but there's things that they're not as universal. Live Alive is my first pick. That is a game I reviewed in the summer. I personally loved it. And if you're into old school Super Nintendo RPGs and strategy games like that, you are probably going to love it. If you have somebody in your life that likes those kind of games, you will probably love it. It's not going to be the RPG for everybody, if that makes any sense to people. So it's an honorable mention. If you're looking for something that somebody might have missed and they like RPGs and they like pixel art, that's great. Number 2 is the Razer Kishi version 2, specifically the Android version. That's one of those telescopic game controllers that you pull it open and you put your phone inside of it.
Oh, yeah,
and then it turns into a gamepad. Very high quality. The Kishi one, I remember when it came out, some people liked it, but they didn't like some of the button configurations. Well, they moved with this from having a membrane button control to mechanical buttons. So it's a premium feeling product, dedicated button controls to open up their apps and do things with. Very good. The only reason it's in honorable mentions is you have to be somebody who is really into wanting to do high level gaming on your phone, as well as if somebody is into game streaming on their phone. And it's great for that because there is, a bit of a barrier of entry. It's a little more pricey. Now you can probably get it on sale during the holidays, which is great. But if you've been wondering, so for somebody who does play a lot of games on their phone and they're looking for a good controller and not like a cheap Chinese crappy one you find on Amazon or something, this is probably the way to go as the most premium feeling controller for your phone. And my last pick for honorable mention, and again, this was one where it was a toss-up, do I put it in another category? But I loved it, even though it's got it's one of those good, fun games, but I feel like it's not going to be for everybody, but for the right kind of person, it's going to be perfect, and that's Gotham Knights. I absolutely love playing it. I know that when it initially came out, there were some middling reviews on it, but everybody that seemed to play it ended up saying they liked it. right? It's sort of that situation where you remember, was it last year? Was it Guardians of the Galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
Where we were all sort of worried. Everybody's like, oh man, it's not going to be good. And then it turns out it's actually pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And it became sort of the sleeper hit. I feel like that's what this is sort of going to be.
And it just had some new DLC drop in the last week or so where you can fight Starro now.
Yeah.
Voiced by Mark Meer, by the way.
Yeah, and a multiplayer 4-player fight with that. So that's cool. So that is it for my honorable mentions and my stocking stuffers, dude.
All right, cool. So we're going to get into our holiday gift guide proper. So how this is going to work, I'm going to go first. Alex is going to go. We're just going to spend a couple minutes on each because your holiday time is valuable and those shopping days are quickly running down. And that means you got to give your FedEx, Amazon, or UPS drivers plenty of time to get these things out to you. Okay, so my first one comes to us from Paramount Home Entertainment. I reviewed this earlier in the year, having never seen these movies. I know, blasphemy. I'm talking about the Godfather Trilogy 4K box set from Paramount Home Entertainment. I'd never seen the Godfather movies. And I remember I reviewed this, like I said, at some point this year, and I was utterly blown away. And it's kind of topical considering the Game Awards literally just happened. This is the first time I've seen Al Pacino in a movie that wasn't Scarface or like Donnie Brasco. So I was like, so this is where he really came from.
The first time you saw him pre-1983.
Yeah, like it's weird. And I was about to say, my God, these movies are fucking awesome. And now I get all the isms where people are like, you're breaking my heart, Fredo. Look what they did to my boy. And you know what? I like Godfather Part 3. I don't even mind the Coda version of it.
Just when I thought I was out, they
pulled me back in. Like, it was so good. And the fact that the 4K box set comes with every single bit of archival material that has ever been created, that is how you do a box set. There is no reason future box sets from any other company should not be doing this. It was fantastic. I cannot recommend this enough. If you can find it, you may have to go to local retail to find it because online, I had a bit of a hard time finding it, but it is totally worth your time. Like, even if you go into this blind, the Godfather movies are revered for a very specific reason. Mario Puzo, who wrote the screenplay for these and worked with Francis Ford Coppola, beautiful synergy. I cannot recommend these movies enough, and you're going to learn so much. And that's my first pick.
All right, now we're jumping over to me, right?
Yep.
All right, so my first pick, and again, these are in no particular order. It's just what came to my head when I was putting it together. I'm like, oh, this would be great. This is great. This is great. And that is the Circuit Mess STEM project toys. Now, last year we talked about one or two of their projects. This year they've got more. They also have like a subscription package where you can pay a monthly fee and they'll send different projects for you and your kids to put together and learn and play with. But this year they had a project that they sent, which is like a home walkie-talkie system that uses a interesting encrypted like network that you can communicate between that nobody else can see. They also made like these like homemade Tamagotchis that you put together. And then they also had like a little Game Boy style player that you can put together, which is pretty neat. I always like including, a toy or two or a product in here that helps with let's say the grandma or the parent that wants to buy an educational toy that also doesn't suck. Because you remember as a kid, when you'd get that one toy, you're like, oh, this is a learning toy and this is not fun. This is a learning toy where you get to make electronics and play with like robots and stuff. So these are always great. And there's so many different ones you can pick from. They all range in different ages. But in general, most of them are ages 8+ because there's either some basic assembly required or there's some that are like ages 10+ because they'll have like a little soldering kit. And the point is the parent works with the kid to make it so it helps with like, some people do like family game night. Well, this will be like family project night. And they put it together that way. So I think it's always good to include something like this. And I think their projects are neat. I like that we're at a point now where these like little electronics and toys can be made so cheap that it's not going to break the bank to get a project like this and put it together. And it's something that when you put it together, unlike putting together, let's say like a puzzle, a family puzzle night. Okay, you put a puzzle together. What do? You put like a little bit of glue on it, you frame it, and you put it somewhere. That's it. This is a project you put together. and then you play with for like up to years afterwards if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always cool. So that's my first pick.
All right, so my second pick is a video game, and this is available on a variety of different platforms. The version that I'm picking is the Switch version, only because having all these on a portable system seems ultimately the best way to play them, I would think. And that is the TMNT Cowabunga collection, coming to us from Digital Eclipse and Konami. This is every single 16-bit Turtles game ever. This is also every Game Boy game ever. Tons of bonus material. They got manual scans. They got stuff for the boxes, old advertisements, press sheets, stuff that was never had been seen by the public before unless you worked in the industry. And just being able to play all these games. Some of these games have built-in cheat codes. Me and Alex played through Turtles and Turtles 3, Mutants in Manhattan, I think it was, that we no, the Manhattan Project. We played that because you had never finished it before.
Yeah, I had played it with my cousins, but I don't remember ever getting to the very end.
Yeah, so this was such a blast in the past for me because I've always loved the Turtles games. I mean, if you look at this holiday gift guide, I've already recommended 2 Turtles things, so this is number 3. The 2022 was a unexpectedly amazing year for the Turtles IP, and these guys really knocked it out of the park. Whenever Digital Eclipse does something like this, you know you're getting quality, and you're getting so many games for under $50. You literally cannot go wrong. So whether you're a person like me who grew up with the 1987 Turtle series, whether you're a newer fan who maybe got into the 2002 or the 2012, and even the rise of the TMNT show, which by the way does grow on you after a while, this is something that is absolutely worth checking out, and I cannot recommend this set enough. Pick it up on your platform of choice.
All right, and my next pick is the GraviTrax system. Now, if you haven't heard of it, it's fairly new. You know how as kids we put together like Hot Wheels tracks, or you'd put together like Mousetrap, or those types of games where you piece together tracks and different things, or even like Meccano. Well, this is similar in that you snap together your own tracks, but it's these little marble ball bearings that use magnets and gravity, and you use a remote control to drive them around and race them and make your own tracks. It's pretty cool because it teaches, it's another one that's a little bit of teaching, but it's also a little more on the playing side, in that it's like, think Hot Wheels, but with gravity and marbles.
Ooh, interesting.
Which, and like metal ball bearings, pretty neat stuff. From what I've been looking, I believe right now in the States it's sold at a few different places, but in Canada I think it's a Toys R Us exclusive.
Oh,
so really cool. If you haven't checked out, you can look it up. Basically, people are building like, there's like starter kits and there's other kits, and you can build like these elaborate like Hot Wheels tracks, basically, right? Only it is using like magnets and marbles to like, and like these metal marbles to like move around, and you can control. The idea is what you're controlling is what part is magnetized and what part isn't, right? And then it pulls it along the track. Think how like futuristic gravity trains work in science fiction. Only on a smaller scale that isn't going to be nuclear powered. But again, fun, cool, interesting stuff.
All right, so my next pick, this one should come as no surprise. This one comes to us from Activision. This is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and we played this on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. We did an extended review of this if you go back in our archives. This is a game that I play daily for at least an hour or two. I actually, as of this recording, I just reached Prestige 3 last night. Probably by the end of the month, I'll be at Prestige 5, so that's level 250.
Wow.
Yeah, don't fuck with me.
And you know me, I'm the single player guy, right? Or very rarely play multiplayer unless it's very, very, very good. And I can confirm this had a pretty darn good single player campaign when we played it, And when we did play a couple of the missions and stuff together, while me being the not good player, there's a couple that I was like, I don't like. And then we found a couple where I was like, oh, I really do like this.
Yeah, and it's really cool because
even for me and for you out there that maybe isn't the biggest multiplayer fan, it is a good single player or co-op experience together.
Yeah, and Season 1 Reloaded drops as of this recording next Wednesday, December 14th. There's going to be new stuff for Warzone. There's going to be raids put in. They introduced the Demilitarized Zone, which is sort of like, here's an area that mixes Warzone in with a single player experience, but you can play it with squads, which I really recommend doing. In fact, this is the only part of the game I haven't unlocked the newest assault rifle yet, because I don't trust anybody enough to follow my back, and I don't like playing with randos. So eventually I'll find it. Yeah, sure. But no, seriously, COD is such a fun time this year. It finally feels like it's back to form. I'm watching Call of Duty League whenever that is on Twitch. There are Twitch drops this year. In fact, one of the best sniper rifle setups, I think it's called the Watchdog 141, you can get from like Twitch drops, and it's a lot of fun. I have the Burger King skin because I'm that guy, and I bought it on eBay because you can't get it in Canada, so that sucks. But still, tremendously fun. So if you're into your late nights of Mountain Dew and Doritos, well, you really can't go wrong here. So check that out. That's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 across a variety of platforms. I think it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And my third pick is the Fitbit Sense 2, which is the newest line in the Fitbit activity smartwatches. Reviewed it just recently, and it's actually on sale, which is good too, because retails for about 300 Canadian. It's down, I think, to 200 right now for holiday sales. And if you're looking for something, because if you have an Apple, Apple phone or device, people end up going with the Apple Watch. But with Android, it's been a little hit or miss trying to figure out like what's the best premium watch to get. Well, Fitbit is actually owned by Google now. And it's been like that for a little bit, so they're more aligned with them. And we're at a point now where I would put this up against any Apple Watch out there.
Oh, wow.
And what this adds to it, last year's models added oxygen level detections on you to check what your O2 is, which can be good to detect if you've got bad sleep. So it added like sleep detector. This year's big feature that they've added is ECG or EKG, like heart monitoring. Which they've done like blood pressure and stuff before and beats per minute, but now it's basically got a whole suite of notifications within it now. Now that some of those features aren't available in every country yet, because it depends on if your country has approved it, but it's available in North America. So pretty much the best smartwatch you can buy for if you have an Android phone in the sub $500 category.
Wow, that's pretty freaking awesome, because I just got an Apple Watch myself, and just to hear that it's doing all that for less than $500, that's pretty solid, actually.
Well, because that's what you notice, like on the Android side of things, you have a lot of like cheap devices that are step counters or basic smartwatches that are like $50 to $100 that are really cheap Chinese ones, and I don't know if they're sending information back to China on your health, you know what I mean, those really cheap ones. Then you have these that are in the $100 to $250 $300 range, and then you jump up to those big designer watches that, other than looking fancy, don't really do anything and actually have less features than this. So if you have been looking to get one and you want to get something to even to monitor your sleep and monitor some basic general health, and it also has a new feature where it monitors stress management, so it can sort of tell when you're being triggered with stressful incidents in your life, and it uses all of its sensors to sort of figure out when you've had, like, if you're in the moment of having like either panic or very stressful things that you might not even be realizing subconsciously. It can actually detect and track that and let you know, hey, take a minute, and you can sign up for programs and stuff to like help you with like meditative breathing and stuff. So it's kind of neat. It's basically like an all-in-one, where previously these smartwatches couldn't do all these features. So I just think it's a pretty cool device.
All right. So my next pick is actually, it's kind of a dual pick from an IP. So this is coming to us from the company of Jazwares, and it's from the Pokemon franchise. So as you guys know, I love toys, and I love action figures. And the Pokemon franchise has not necessarily had the best record with toys. Usually they're very simple, they're PVC, they don't move, there's not a lot of action to them. Well, this year surprised the hell out of me. So they sent me one of their new articulated action figures, 6-inch scale. So think Marvel Legends or Star Wars Black Series, or basically any Transformer in a Voyager scale. This, I got Articuno. Articuno is one of the legendary bird trio. He's the ice bird and also one of my perfects that I caught in Pokemon Go this year. This is really cool, but they also have Charizard, they got Rayquaza, they got Greninja, like all these really awesome Pokemon. I think, they also have Zapdos too. I think there's even Moltres as well. Like ultimately, it's nice to see the Pokemon figure really getting its due now, because action figures have come so far, especially since Marvel Legends really started to show what can be done in a 6-inch scale. And to take a cartoony anime-ish figure and even a cartoony fantastic animal to give it a really proper displayable figure, this is fantastic. I'm utterly pleased. And Jazwares, especially how they're handling their Halo Spartan collection line, I'm very, very impressed with this. And then the other thing, it's kind of a fun little thing. There are new Pokemon plushes, and they sent me Squirtle. Squirtle, you may remember, is the base form of Blastoise. So it goes Squirtle, War Turtle, and then Blastoise, which now has a Mega form in Pokemon Go and has for a while, but it's one of the more iconic Pokemon, and everybody has seen the meme of the Squirtle with the sunglasses. Again, this not every Pokemon plush is made equal, and for some of them you're going to be paying out the nose. Here you are not. You're going to get something that's probably about just a little bit below or equal to the quality you would get from the official Pokemon Center. But the fact you don't have to wait a few weeks for them to ship it to you is really convenient. You can go into like Walmart, Toys R Us, Chapters, Indigo, almost anywhere you can find these things. Like I said, my Squirtle now lives in my Christmas tree. That's how we kind of do Christmas around here. We put little plush toys in our tree. So Jazwares, I think, is really handling the IP here. Now, I did get some other stuff from Jazwares this year that didn't make the cut. I was thinking about the Master Chief helmet that we did in our quarterly show this year, which we only did one this year, but scheduling just got away from us this year.
We have good intentions, and we always plan on continuing to do more.
Yeah, so don't worry. 2023, we're working on it.
Yes.
And the other one I was going to mention is the Halo Spartan collection, which is continuing to ship out new figures. If you see those in stores, honestly, seriously consider them. They are pretty awesome. So Alex, off to you, buddy.
All right, we're moving on to home media, and I have my pick of Magnum PI, the complete Blu-ray set for the entire show. This is one of my top favorite shows of the 80s, maybe in my top 5 favorite like action detective-y type shows ever. Selleck is like the perfect 80s Private Eye, obviously. They did a really good remastering job. Mill Creek, back in the day, were always thought of as one of those release firms that would just plop everything on a disc and put it out. But they have, ever since, was it about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, when they did the That 70s Show release, and they actually started paying money to do proper remasters. They were working on that, like the same quality that you get from a major studio. And this is one of those releases. It's a 30 Blu-ray disc set.
Holy shit.
All 8 seasons. So they don't cram the episodes on as many, they don't put like 20 episodes on a disc. It is proper, given space to breathe. They produced new features like interviews with Mike Post, the music composer, new interviews with some of the directors and writers, new interviews with other people that worked on the show, as well as 2 episodes are included that had Tom Selleck in the episodes of the Rockford Files. They weren't crossovers, but they were where he was sort of discovered, and then they decided to make the show around him. Flashback featurettes, they call them, which is talks on 80s TV in general, inside different crossovers that used to happen back then, because they were all produced by the same people back then, a lot of these shows. and then a feature on like America's Top TV Sleuths, audio commentaries. It's in a premium box where they were smart. Instead of putting them like a lot of these sets are, where they put all the discs. Remember when they used to do that? Like Sony used to do this sometimes way back. They'd put like spindles and they'd have like 30 discs stacked on top of each other. It's not like that here. What it is 2 or 3, those thicker 6-disc or more cases. Well, it's got like 3 or 4 of these in there, and each one holds like 8 some odd discs or more. So it's very, very well put together. It's not likely that you're going to break the cases or anything, and it's pretty much the definitive version of how to watch this show. And it is one of my go-to, like, hey, I've got work to do, but I want to throw something on in the background that I'm going to enjoy, and I can pop in and watch, or I can do my emails and do work. And that this is just one of my favorite shows. And I think if you've got somebody in your household that loves classic TV, this is a really good set to get. This is the set for your dad or for me.
So my next pick is one that I didn't expect to include on this list, and Alex sent it to me when the game came out back in June, and this is Fire Emblem 3 Hopes from Nintendo. I like those Warriors games like the Gundam games, those games where you fight like 1,000 guys on a field. You're doing ridiculous combos that somehow manage to hit like 10 people with like a bow and arrow.
Basically the Dynasty Warriors and all of its spin-offs.
Yeah, and I like the idea behind Fire Emblem because I never did play Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I did buy it last year at Christmas because it was on sale for like $30. This is encouraging me to go visit the game's real reality. This is a game that takes place in an alternate universe where Byleth is known as the Ashen Demon and is sort of the bad guy. And you play a character known as Shez, who can ally with one of the 3 houses of the Fire Emblem land. I can't pronounce it. It's like Forlin or something like that. Fordan or something. And it's just a weirdly wonderful, engaging experience. I put almost as much time into Fire Emblem 3 Hopes as I did COD. And I want you to think about how much time that is. I played this game a lot.
The biggest worry with those games are that traditionally the Switch has had trouble with the frame rates on them. But I hear that this was one of the ones that had the more smooth gameplay than the previous one.
Yeah, I don't recall any real gameplay hit. I mean, there was some slowdown here and there, but very, very, very little. And I really hope this game gets a sequel because this game was a blast. Like, I had so much fun with this. This made me a Fire Emblem fan. So I'm gonna I played through I can't remember the names of the houses, but I remember the colors. I played through the red one, which is Edelgard's house, and I managed to get through the entire game with only killing those people that you had to kill. I recruited all the characters. I got the secret ending. It was totally friggin' worth it, man. It was so much fun. So Fire Emblem 3 Hopes, you won me over. Please make a sequel. This was awesome.
Oh, nice. Well, we're going back to Blu-ray territory with me, and that is for Sequest DSV. This was one of my favorite, not even a guilty pleasure. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And for anybody that didn't know, how did we all describe it back then? It's Star Trek: The Next Generation underwater. And this was the classic 90s Spielberg-produced show starring Roy Scheider, and it was basically in the future we're going to discover things under the water because why explore space when we haven't discovered 90% of our planet. And there was a talking dolphin, and it was basically the Enterprise underwater. And then in the 3rd season it did turn into like space aliens and stuff, and it got really wacky, and that's the season most people didn't even see because I believe it moved from network TV to the Sci-Fi Channel. Mm-hmm. And Michael Ironside replaced Roy Scheider, which is awesome and weird at the same time. Well, for years, seasons 1 and 2 were some of the first DVDs released ever, like as far as TV shows. Remember when shows used to get that big fold-out cardboard box? Mm-hmm. I think like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the old X-Files had that, the original sets.
Yep.
remember when you folded them out?
Yeah. Oh, I
And
used to love those type of sets.
they were great. They took up a lot of space, but a lot of those discs were getting to the point where they're starting to get disc rot because they're like 20 years old. And they weren't stored very well, a lot of them, or they weren't pressed very well, the initial disc. And for the longest time, when they did, they never did a re-release of the show, seasons 1 and 2. And season 3 only ever had an English release on DVD in Australia.
Oh wow!
And I believe it was region coded so that we couldn't see it. And then there were people trying to find ways to import and do things with it, so it never got a proper release. Well, now Sequest is available, all 3 seasons, completely remastered. They did a full cleanup job where they scanned in the negatives. It looks 10 times better than it did when it was broadcast, and you get all 3 seasons, 57 episodes, on a Blu-ray set that fits very nicely on a shelf. It's not taken up. It takes up half the space of season 1 did on DVD.
Oh, geez.
But at the same time, you get it across 10 discs. And it's one of my favorite shows that finally got to see, a proper release. And for any sci-fi fan out there, it's a no-brainer because it's one of those things where I don't know how many people knew that it got a release recently. And it might be something again that for the sci-fi, and it's also, you've seen the trends of a lot of sci-fi shows now. There's a lot of new sci-fi that might not be very family friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a show that, there's nothing in this that a family can't sit down and watch. There's plenty of sci-fi and drama and like maturity to it that adults are going to enjoy it, obviously. But this is something that you can sit down with your kids or with younger ones and watch and get them into science fiction. So that's always a plus for me.
One of the things that sold me on this show that I'm going to be talking about for my next holiday pick is Alex described this to me as DC Comics' answer to Doctor Who. So Warner Brothers Home Entertainment sent over DC's Legends of Tomorrow on Blu-ray, the complete series. This show had a lot going for it. It had a amazing cast of characters with Captain Cold and Heatwave. They brought in Constantine in later seasons with Matt Ryan reprising the role. Victor Garber from Alias, who is a fantastic actor. So many people across the DC pantheon, from minor characters to major characters. The Wave Rider went throughout time and space, and it was weird. It was wonderful. I think this is one of the strongest shows to come out of the Arrowverse that ever existed. And now that DC is starting to change plans, I wonder if we'll ever see a show like this again. I mean, the closest thing I guess you could say in terms of funny and weird, but also thought-provoking at time, might be Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol is the rated R version of this PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. And the main difference is what you have there is pure unadulterated fun and goofiness, and Doom Patrol is a little heavy for some people.
Yeah, like
it's fantastic in its own right, but this again is one you can show your whole family.
Yeah, like Legends of Tomorrow is it takes just such a premise of like, hey, we're gonna go fix problems that other people can't do it, and there's such an eclectic range of people with different abilities and powers, and people come and go throughout the cast. And one of the characters you find out is a secret romance writer who's also a supervillain.
That is a storyline that happens for over a while, but it's great because when confronted by it, it's like, yeah, I am. So, and everybody's like, but, and he's like, you got a problem with that? and then he'll sit down with like a whole bunch of beers or like a big bottle of booze, and he'll start taking a swig, and he's like, and then he'll start having go, she took off her blouse, and it gets all like very very, very Harlequin romance novel, like as he sits there and cracks open a 2-4.
Yeah, like honestly, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, like I said, is one of the strongest series to come out. If you've ever been putting off watching the show, well, just get it in one go. You're gonna binge it.
It literally is. It's DC with Doctor Who energy.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. I think you should be checking this out from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
All right, now we're moving on to what was my game of the year. And it got robbed, son, robbed. And that is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Nintendo sent a review copy over, and this is the RPG of the last few years that you send to somebody and give to somebody who has been on the fence about trying RPGs, and they're like, well, what's a really good one? What's the best example that I can use to get into right now? Where the battle system is a little bit MMO, it's a little bit action, there's a little bit of traditional JRPG in it. There's plenty of like the most voice acting I've seen in the game in a very long time. Fantastic vistas and beautiful music. This is the best music in a soundtrack since Final Fantasy VII Remake. And because this is completely new music, this might be the best new music and variety of music in over a decade, because there's like 50 tracks or more. Every area of the game has both a daytime and nighttime version of the song that is almost completely different, but follows like some audio cues and motifs. And it does the thing that some of these best games do now. The more dangerous things are getting or the action's happening, the more the music swells and alters. It has dynamic music. And that was, if you remember, a few years back, we noticed that for the first time in Final Fantasy VII. It hadn't really been done to that extent before. And this did it. Great voice acting. It performs at like a proper frame rate, which again, this is a game that if you showed it to somebody, they wouldn't think it was running on the Nintendo Switch, because the perception now is that not a lot of games can run that are this beautiful and at a proper frame rate on the Switch. And this happens to be one of those like magical wizard projects that just happens to work. And if you don't want to, it'll take you about 30 to 40 hours to beat. If you want to, it'll breeze by. You'll put in 100 hours and not even realize you did it. It's like Persona in that way.
Oh, wow.
So that's, my pick here. Perfect for everybody. And again, if you're not a huge RPG fan, but you've been wanting to test the waters, this is a good one.
My pick is also my game of the year, and we didn't plan it this way. It just kind of happened. This one comes to us from Sony Computer Entertainment, God of War Ragnarok. This one I think should have won at the Game Awards last night over Elden Ring, but what do I know? Ultimately,
What do you know? It's not like you've been playing games for 35 years, and it's not like you've been in the industry for years.
Yeah, like geez. So this game is the sequel to the 2018 soft reboot of God of War, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I may go back and revisit again now that I've gone through this. I loved God of War Ragnarok, and there are so many points in this that will make you think Kratos is really just trying to be a good dad to Atreus. And there were some lines that just come as banter between him and another character talking about self-control, panic, loss, what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a good man, and what it means to be a good person, and to leave behind something positive in the world. It really hit me in unexpected good ways. And I had wrote off the God of War franchise as just another dude bro ultra violence thing. And I think when the series really started to get going, with like my first God of War experience was Ghost of Sparta on the PSP, and I loved that. And Chains of Olympus, I think, was the other title. And then I started playing these games a little bit more kind of casually, but Ragnarok's the one that I went all in on, and I powered through easily, like hours upon hours long game sessions. Not like Alex's 36-hour marathons, but
36 hours marathons where I almost don't make it to the washroom because my body's falling apart.
Yeah, like ultimately though, God of War Ragnarok is a showcase piece for the PlayStation 5. If it is, in my opinion, one of the must-own titles for the console. There is a God of War PS5 available. There's multiple collector's editions. There is
there's a controller.
But say like there's so much to love about God of War Ragnarok, and even if you never played the first game, they give you a recap that tells you all the major events without explaining it to you in like an idiotic way. It's done in a very tasteful way, gives you all the context you need.
And
you're going to be playing it soon, right?
Yes, my brother bought it, and he yesterday actually handed it over, and he's like, hey, when you finish up with everything you've got to do, you need to play this. And I went, oh good, I don't have to buy it, because he goes, no, brothers share.
Yes, like you are going to have such a good time with it. I can't wait till you can come back and tell me your journey through the 9 realms.
Well, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to wake up and I'll be like, I'm starting God of War, and then you won't hear from me from Monday until Wednesday evening, and I'll say I beat it, and oh God, I can't feel my body. I must sleep.
It'll be worth it. It is so good. Like I said, showcase piece for the PlayStation 5. Sony had a fantastic year when it came to certain exclusives this year.
Oh, righty. Now moving on, I have the Geekom Mini Air 11 mini PC. That's the mini PC I reviewed about a month and a half ago or so, and I've been using it for working and stuff in the living room to record with. So if I don't want to have to set up, in the office to record with us, it has been a breeze. I didn't realize that that PCs, like mini PCs, had gotten to the point where even the budgetary ones are able to do like full audio, video, basic video stuff, but all audio editing. It's like a whole little, recording suite, or media consumption PC. You can fit in your pocket even, and for something you can get for on sale less than $200. I was able to turn it into like a little emulator PC even, right? Like I was just to test things out. Like you can play up to like PS1 games on it. You can play up your backups of everything else. You can play any like basic like Fortnite and stuff like that. You could even play those at like 720p with the built-in graphics. Pretty neat stuff. Geared clearly more towards like an office PC or like media consumption. Like you can play back 4K video on it, no problem. If you're looking for something that you want to get your kids like one of their first computers and not just have a tablet, because I know the standard thing now is a lot of people have tablets for their kids, but you want to get them a computer, but you don't want to break the bank on something really big and expensive, and you don't necessarily need like a full-fledged gaming PC. I have tested it with it. It can do streaming games on like Game Pass, no problem.
Ooh.
Yeah. It has enough power behind it that it can do all that, no issue. It also was working with Stadia, but Stadia we know is shutting down. But if you have like GeForce Now, or in the States, what's the one? Is it Amazon? Was it Lumia or Luna? Whatever it's called. But specifically Game Pass is what I was trying out with it, because that's what I have. And I went, oh man, it's like, and it was like almost no lag or anything, just plugged in a controller and was away working with it. So it's pretty darn versatile, and something that when it's on sale is less than $200 for a full-fledged PC. It's pretty darn sweet. We're at a point now where $200 will get you the equivalent of what $500 used to get you. And in this economy, with everything going up in price, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like spending $1,500 on a full-fledged desktop PC with a gaming thing right now.
Mm-hmm. I hear that.
So if you're looking for something, and the craziest thing about it is, and I know this sounds crazy because you never really want to do it unless you run it to surprise somebody. It is technically small enough that if you did take it out of the box and you kept the box, aside somewhere, you could put it in somebody's stocking.
Wow.
That's what I mean, right? So could you imagine, like you kid or somebody in your house gets a bunch of presents, they open it up, a bunch of little things, and then it's like, oh, we forgot to give you your stocking, and they pull out a couple chocolates and whatever little keychains or little junky things put in there, and in the bottom of the stocking is a computer. That is literally what I'm talking about when I talk about it is a mini PC.
The future is definitely now.
Exactly.
All right. So this one again comes from Sony Computer Entertainment, and the long-awaited television show premieres on HBO Max on January 15th. I'm talking about The Last of Us Part 1. And this is yet another showcase piece for the PlayStation 5. Again, me and Alex did a very in-depth extended review of this back when the game came out in September. What more can I say about this? This game is a masterpiece from top to bottom. It is a game that will hit you emotionally in the feels. There are some moments of levity, and there's some incredibly difficult and tragic moments in it too. And the fact that Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson gave the performances of a generation is really something special to say, because I remember this is a game when it originally came out on PlayStation 3. I played 14 times one summer, just
Oh,
because
wow.
I loved it that much. I was probably in a really bad depressive place, and this game certainly didn't help. But that being said,
Well, it did help.
It did help.
But it did help in a sense.
yeah, and the fact that now that it's running on the Last of Us Part 2 engine, it has all the accessibility options built in. Like, this is the most accessible the game has ever been. It's not frustrating. It's a wonderful experience. You had a blast with it too.
Oh, absolutely. I was, you know me, I love horror movies. I am the biggest scaredy cat, but with the accessibility options turned on and me going very slowly and hiding through things, I was able to handle a few jump scares that happened. And I had a very good time. And even there's a couple parts where I knew I was getting stumped by some of the puzzles. It wasn't too difficult, but I was just like, I wasn't getting something. You've had those moments, right?
Mhm.
And I went, you know what? And I looked it up and I was like, wait, there's no penalty. There's an option here to skip a puzzle, which I don't know if that was in the original version of the game. But you can skip a puzzle and it brings you to the solution. And it's not like it's going to go, you can't get any trophies anymore. Remember that used to be a thing back in the day? Well, they don't do that. They're like, you know what? Not everybody's going to get every puzzle every single time. So if you want to, you can skip an area if it becomes too difficult for you to figure out. And then of course you still have to do combat and that. But you know, if you're just getting stuck, I like that that's an option. So it was basically accessibility, the horror game.
Yeah, like there's no reason why you can't beat it. It's great. There's no other way
my
to say
mom
that.
my mom could beat it, and she hasn't played a game since the multiplayer in like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye, right? And she would be terrified. I'd have to show her how to use the controls, but she could beat it and she would probably get enthralled.
Yeah. So now off to you, man. What is next on your list?
All right, my next pick is something that I purchased for myself, and that is Star Ocean: The Divine Force on the PlayStation 4/5. This is the latest game in the Star Ocean series. For a while, people were worried it might be the last one. I don't think it's going to be now because it's getting pretty good reviews overall. If it wasn't for Xenoblade, this would be my RPG pick of the year. Good inventive action battle system. Voice acting, pretty good for a JRPG. Not top tier, but 7 out of 10, 6.5, 7 out of 10 for the voice acting. What makes up for that is it is rock solid in the gameplay. One of the first things you get is full character agency. Within the first hour of the game, you get the ability to be like almost jetpacking like, and every zone that you're in, it becomes all vertical inside, where you can like jump around, and instead of going flat on the ground, you can now look in every nook and cranny, like up on ledges, different things, find little secrets, find ways to go around places and do things, and eventually making it so you have like double jumps moving around. So it lets you basically tackle every area however you want. You can skip enemies, you can find secrets. You have a pretty solid story that does the whole hopping from planet to planet. Really solid battle system with a lot of technical finesse involved in it. Some good replayability, some secret bosses at the end. Just a really rock solid RPG that I feel a lot of people, if we don't bring attention to it, might have skipped by or forgot it came out, because it came out right at the time when we had a deluge of a ton of great games coming out.
This one for my next pick is I like to play board games, and it's something I get a chance to play with Blair sometimes, much to her another review. Sometimes I play with my next door neighbor Liam. You and me, Alex, have played games before, and this is a game that I showed you earlier this fall. And this is Firefly Misbehaving. This is a deck building faction based game. So long story short, you get 4 factions. You get the crew of the Serenity, you get the Alliance, and 2 of the gangs from the show. One led by Badger, and I think the other guy's name is Niska or something. And basically you have resources and you're trying to become, the richest person, or the best person in the black out there fighting against all these people. You're fighting over ships, supplies, weapons, and there's like currency to spend. It's kind of complicated to learn at first. This is a game that I had to spend people a little bit more time teaching them what I wanted to, but it's not to say that it's not fun. And the Firefly license, I find, gets treated really well depending on the medium. There was a really good Firefly RPG that came out a while back, and I don't have that game anymore because I don't have people to play that with. But it's not hard to find people to play board games with. And this is a deck building game that should take you anywhere from just over an hour to maybe an hour and a half to finish. There are tons of videos on YouTube that'll walk you through it. You have
so basically enough time for dinner and a card game.
Yeah, and I remember when I showed this game to you, you're like, "Okay, Mike, can you explain this to me super slowly?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And we went through it, and you're like, "Okay, that's pretty fun. Let's try and get more people because you can scale this up to 4 people. So maybe during the holiday break, we'll come back and play this again." And
yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and like Gale Force 9, they don't make bad board games. Like there was another one that came out I think last year, or was it this year? I don't remember. And it was like this Prohibition era game where I wish I could remember the name of it. It's going to drive me nuts.
Oh, I remember that now. I don't remember the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one was fun as hell.
That was either part of our guideline? It was part of your review that we did.
Yeah, it's something I reviewed earlier this year, and I only really got.
I'm drawing a blank because it's in my head. It's mashing up with that Empire of Sin game that came out.
But it's the same vibe.
Similar vibe for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, like it was just a fun game. So Firefly Misbehaving from Gale Force 9. It's a fantastic time. If you love the IP, which has been around for over 20 years now, and we still not got a proper resolution. Serenity doesn't count. I want a season 2. Won't happen though. But yeah, honestly, I think it was a lot of fun. You should be checking this game out if you can find it at your local games retailer, or you can order it directly from Gale Force 9.
Awesome. And I've got a few releases that are paired together for a very specific reason from our friends over at Kino Lorber Films. They sent over a package that had a few different things, 2 of which we're actually going to be talking about, Aaron and I, on an upcoming Loose Cannon, and that is Stunt Rock and the movie Treasure of the Four Crowns, 2 ridiculous films. That programming will be coming up a little later during our hiatus. But the other 2 that I wanted to feature here specifically were Night Gallery Seasons 2 and 3 on Blu-ray. Last year, we featured Night Gallery Season 1, and in the interim, basically every 6 months, they've been pumping out the series. These are fully remastered, cleaned up with extra special features. They sound and look fantastic. Now, this, I think I showed you the first episode of Season 1 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally it was like a TV movie, and it was one of the first things that Spielberg worked on,
Mm-hmm.
and there were different segments. It was Rod Serling's follow-up to the wildly successful Twilight Zone. And this was the premise of this was he would introduce each episode or each segment of the show, and he would have be standing in front of a painting, and it would be covered up, and he would start describing the painting, and it would go into that fantasy world of that story.
Was this the one you showed me with the Nazis? And
yes.
That one was friggin' amazing.
Yes, for 19 like 67 or 68 or whatever it was when that came out. That in the first that was part of the first episode of the original season, and that's the one where it's a guy who escaped, Nazi who escaped, and he is out in hiding in South America, and he realizes he's being discovered by a former concentration camp survivor, and every day he's been going to this museum praying that he wishes he could be the man in the picture who's on a boat on a serene like farm, and he's running away from the people that are trying to take him to be tried for war crimes, and he ends up killing that survivor to try to escape, and runs away from the cops, goes and prays and prays and prays to the painting, and then you hear him look up, he screams, and then he gets yanked off a screen, and it's very jarring. And the cops are looking around, they're like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, what happened to that painting? And they're like, oh, they moved it, that exhibition is over, so instead we've got a new exhibition in here. And then it zooms out, and he's like, He's now in a painting where he's being on the cross tormented.
Jesus.
And you just hear him. You hear like the guys that are in the security guards are like, "Do you hear that?" And like, "Oh, maybe a window's open." And if you listen closely, it's him screaming.
Yeah.
He's now being tormented forever for all his sins because he prayed to go into the wrong painting. And I mean that's pretty darn good. It's twisted for the time, probably more twisted than the Twilight Zone was going to be back, when it first came out. But this is also in full color. There's plenty. If you can think of a star from the 70s and 60s, they're in the show. And now you can get seasons 2 and 3 to add to your set, and you have the whole show now. And I always thought that these are cool. For a long time, again, they were out of print on DVD. They were hard to get, and now they're in print in a slimline case, fitted on any shelf. And I'm glad that Kino's going back and restoring. They did a full restoration on this too, which is always great.
So this next pick is something that I really would love to run for somebody. It's an RPG and it's a box set, and it's the ultimate what if / introduction. And it's kind of like how I talked in the beginning, how sometimes certain RPG settings will overwhelm you, like learning the entire history of Forgotten Realms or the entire history of Dragonlance. It's intimidating to say the least because you have so much history. And last year, we were blessed with one of the best adaptations of Dune to ever come out. Wonderful movie, sequels currently being shot, and there's a television series in development, I believe. But Modiphius, the company behind Star Trek Adventures, they just lost the Conan license, but they do a variety of things like Achung Cthulhu. They did something really interesting, and I've never quite seen this done before. And they have a box set called Agents of Dune. You might be saying, well, what the hell is that? So Agents of Dune is the ultimate what if. So what if a different house, rather than House Atreides, was given control of Dune from the Harkonians? And you are responsible for harvesting the spice melange. You are responsible for making sure that this planet functions and doesn't fall apart. You're given pre-generated characters. You could bring in your own. And in the version I got, you get a digital code, I believe, to the full Dune expansion, or to the full Dune rules, that if you want to create your own characters and really explore the universe of Dune, you can do that. Because there's like, the world of Dune is so much more than Arrakis. It's the home worlds of the Harkonians, of the Atreides. You can find out what a Mentat is and all that stuff. And it's wild, the fact that to have a complete campaign box set that gives you alternate history. And I know it's being continued in a new Dune expansion whose name currently escapes me right now. But when I saw Dune last year for the first time, on edibles, I might add, so I did consume spice. It was such an experience, and I really got into the world. And as a sidebar to this, I was going back through my Facebook memories. I was quoting Dune 10 years ago when I was writing the Bene Gesserit's fear mantra, like fear is the mind killer, fear is the thing that brings total death or whatever.
You probably saw quotes or saw clips back then from the 84 or 85 Dune, whatever it was.
Yeah, actually, this will be my final thing on it. I first got exposed to that quote from the Earthworm Jim TV series when Peter Puppy is quoting the Bene Gesserit quote on fear as he fights Psycro. And that always stuck with me. And then when I saw the movie, and then somebody last year mashed it up with the mother of the Bene Gesserits and Elmo, I was like, okay, this is weird, and I'm totally buying into this. But no, the Dune RPG really took me by surprise. Having a box set like this where it gives me all the background that I need, and even as a game master, it's like, okay, here's what you need to know. This is how you present it to the players. It's a really cool way to introduce people to the world of Dune and do something really, really fantastic with it. And I hope more people will get a chance to fight sandworms or learn what it means to be a Fremen. And ultimately, this is a fantastic box set. I hope more people pick this up.
Nice. Well, I'm going back to video games, and I'm going to talk very briefly about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, this was a Game Awards winner as Best Family Game, and rightfully so. It is, in my mind, outside of this is maybe the best Kirby game.
Wow.
I was going to say, like,
better than Crystal Shards? Holy crap. Now you've got my attention.
Okay, so I like the Super Nintendo games. I like the NES game. I like the game. Yeah, this is the best one. It is, it's Mario Odyssey Kirby the game, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very, very infinitely fun to play. Like, you can't, the difficulty is not there for like children can play this. There's still enough challenging levels and extras to do, especially like the post game or near the end of the game stuff and challenges for the adults out there. There's secrets to unlock on every world. There's lots of stuff that you can use to build your home base and free people and get extra bonuses and extra costumes and powers. There's just so much to this. It is the best Kirby game all round overall. You know, I love me some 2D Kirby, but this, I think, jumping into, you know, the modern era into the third dimension was the best thing they could have done. Highly recommend. This is pretty much the best family game of the year, and it, you know, deservedly won the Game Awards award for that.
Wow. You know what? This was a game that I was kind of thinking about getting, so maybe based upon your recommendation, I will.
Dude, like if you thought that like maybe some parts of Mario Odyssey might have been too difficult, sort of challenge, you know, near the end, this is ramped down a little bit. So it, like, Kirby was always thought of as like, you know, kids first platformer. There's still enough challenge here. It has the most charm out of any game this year.
Oh, wow.
Personally.
Okay, yeah, that kind of sold me on that, actually. So this will be my last role-playing game. I know, all he does is talk about playing friggin' pretend. So this one comes from Cubicle 7. These guys have held the Doctor Who license for, like, pretty much what seems like forever. And this is the Doctor Who RPG 2nd edition. And what I really like about this is it allows you to still use the books and material from the previous edition. So this is the Jodie Whittaker era of the new Doctor. I don't even know how to describe her regenerations now.
I'm too far behind. I just know that it got all timey-wimey and wonky-donkey.
Yeah, like it's weird with the whole timeless child and everything.
Is the easiest just to maybe say it's like Call of Duty and they're now prestiging?
Actually, that's not a terrible way to describe it, actually. Yeah, like it's
hey, I did something smart.
You really did. Like, one of the things that I love about Cubicle 7 is they give you splat books for Doctor Who that are really fun to read. So you get every Doctor from all the way to the first, all the way to Capaldi's book, which I think I reviewed earlier this year or really late last year, and then having the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. Now I've got everybody. I think I'm only missing one box set from the entire run of the entire Doctor Who line. That's how much I collect these things. And the Doctor Who role-playing game is different than what you may think of a traditional role-playing game, whereas most role-playing games are thought of combat games because, you know, everybody likes to shoot lasers and whatnot. While shooting and combat does happen in Doctor Who, you are rewarded for being more diplomatic. You're rewarded for being more clever. Like,
well, remember, his weapon of choice is a screwdriver, a tool to fix things.
Exactly. And that very much carries over into the game design for this book. Is you have to be clever. You have to think smart. Brute force is not going to win the day. You can't be Captain Jack Harkness and walk in with a blaster and expect to win every time. All it takes is a screwdriver, the right words, and a wink and a smile, and you might be very well surprised. So Cubicle 7, once again, continues a fantastic tradition with the Doctor Who license. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with these guys in the future. You cannot go wrong with this.
Awesome. I have a game which is Mario and Rabbids, or Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This won Best Strategy Game of the Year. Up upsetting some people that are like traditional strategy game players, maybe people that didn't play it, because this is how you do an XCOM style strategy RPG in the Mario world. It felt like it was made in-house by like Nintendo's first R&D division, even though it was made by Ubisoft as a partner. And I had an insane amount of fun with it. And you want to talk about accessibility? If you're playing it with small kids, this can be their first strategy game, because there is an option before every single level or before every single match that you can go into the menu if you want to, and you can turn on invulnerability mode. So if you get really stuck at a part where you really can't get through it, or it's too difficult, or you're playing with very young children that want to just sort of learn the mechanics, you can go through it. You can get knocked off the edge and everything, but you won't get any damage, and you can just go through and beat the level. And then you can turn that off. You can adjust the difficulty as you go on the fly to different settings. It has more accessibility options, I think, than most like Nintendo first-party titles. I was really impressed with that. A fun story that pokes fun at other RPGs. There's like jokes and references to like Final Fantasy in it, where there's a new character brought into the game that dresses up all in leather and looks like a very emo kid circa, early to mid 2000s Final Fantasy games. Even has a Buster Sword, which I found really, really funny overall. Just a really solid release. It tells a bigger and better story than the first Kingdom Battle game did. There's more versatility in how you explore the world itself and the levels, and you find secrets, and it's just the very solid high production values. It doesn't feel like if you bought it for kids and you were worried that, oh, it's an RPG or it's got too many numbers, there's not really numbers or anything like that to contend with. It's just a fun strategy game that's good for all ages.
So for my final pick today, and it's hard to believe this is going to be how we're going to close things out here on the gift guide, my final pick actually coincides with one of Alex's honorable mentions. So I didn't get this game for review, but I did buy it on release day. I got Gotham Knights, and I was sent over the official collector's compendium by Inside Editions. So you might be thinking, well, what the hell is that? So this is part art book, part strategy guide. And
oh yeah, because for people that don't realize, I believe Cyberpunk was the last time that anybody released an official strategy guide. I think Prima Games and Brady shut down right after.
Yeah, like you don't see too many of these things anymore unless they come with like collector's editions, or they're super niche, or they're really, really expensive. And what I like about this is it tells you solutions to everything, but it also shows you really cool concept art. I only flipped through this very briefly so I couldn't see words. I caught one that caught my attention.
You basically wanted to see if it was good quality or not.
Yeah, and one that really caught my attention because I love this bad guy to the moon and back. I caught the words Mecha Freeze, and that warms my heart so much. Like
when you get there, like I'm saying, dude, you're gonna really enjoy the game.
Like, and I find with Insight Editions, their books are almost always consistently high quality. And we've reviewed a number of different books from them since we really started getting back into books this year.
And ranging all through the genres, from cookbooks to fan compendiums.
Yeah, like the other thing that could have sat in this number 12 spot was the Ghostbusters official cookbook or the Pokemon official cookbook. But I chose this because this is going to help me get through Gotham Knights quicker, because now, as we mentioned off the top of the show here, there is new DLC coming. So for you to get up to max level is going to be important. If you're going to play with your friends, you want to have the best possible gear. I want to get through this game quick.
Can confirm. And when you get to endgame and we start doing endgame stuff, guess who's logging in to play with you again?
Yeah. See, this is going to be great. So now I don't have to get stuck trying to figure out stuff like I got stuck in Arkham City on like the Riddler bullshit, or I would endlessly do things in Arkham Knight just because I thought that game was a lot of fun. Like, this is going to be great. Like, I'm looking forward to running through this game as Batgirl, because I know you did Red Hood, so I guess I'll play Batgirl.
Yes. Yeah, I played a little bit of every character, but then I realized I just was like, I want to be the brooding Hulk, and that's basically what I played as.
Yeah, I want to be combat finesse.
You're like, I was thinking of playing this. I was like, no, you're gonna play Batgirl because you're gonna be playing somebody that can complement my playing.
So yeah, and like it's great just to be able to have resources like this. So I literally am the world's, well, I guess second greatest detective, because I don't know how this game ends. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm skimming through the preview that's available on Amazon for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's high quality color pictures,
nice
like
and
really
glossy.
Good. I was going to say that they did not skimp on the quality and all the details in there, even with like the few pages of previews that I'm able to see. I can already tell it's high quality release.
Yeah, like I am so glad Insight Editions gets to handle certain IPs, and they handle them with a remarkable amount of respect. So everything you've heard today, I recommend on some level or another. So big thanks to Paramount, Warner Brothers, Inside Edition, everybody. You've got one more.
I've got one more. Don't end without me.
No.
One more. And that is DioField Chronicle. Again, one that I purchased for myself and one that I'll recommend to everybody because it's one of the only games I'm talking about here that's not a full price game. I believe it's already down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it is from Square Enix. It is the first in its style. It is part real-time strategy, RTS, part tactical RPG. This game can be almost played exclusively with one hand if you wanted to, like for accessibility options. But think moving entire troops like you would in like Command and Conquer, but then having menus that you can open up when you're attacking to manually select your attacks and everything like a Final Fantasy game would. Really good story, pretty good graphics for the generation because it's a multi-gen game. You know how you got sucked into playing the Fire Emblem game,
mm-hmm.
and I was surprised how much I liked this. I played this game on normal, beat the game, and you know me, I don't play it on hard. I went back and did a full playthrough on hard.
Oh wow!
And beat it a second time. I don't do that for fun usually. And I was like, oh, let's see how hard I can make this. I did it like I was so good at this, and the game breezes by. You're going to beat it within 20 to 25 hours, which for an RPG is pretty breezy. And it is a fun game. I hope they make more in the series. It's a brand new franchise. It's the game that if you saw the trailers for it, it looked like you were playing in a diorama.
Oh, I know exactly the game you're talking about now.
Yeah, think like 3D graphics, so not like Octopath, but like you were playing on like a miniature war game set. And it's pretty darn fun. I think it's good. I think some people are gonna might have forgot about it because Square Enix released like 6 titles in 2 months, right? All to like really good like reviews, but all so much happening at once that I feel like some people are going to forget it, and I won't forget because it's in my top 5 games of the year.
Fantastic. So guys,
and that's it for me. Pretty big variety, I think, this year.
Yeah, but say this year, I mean, we were expecting some other stuff from some other partners, but unfortunately, COVID is still a thing. Logistics is still a nightmare.
It's logistics. Anything that's having to be ordered and sent from overseas, if it wasn't sent like a month and a half early, it ain't getting here till after Christmas.
Yeah, so we did get some stuff really late because we did want to talk about Marvel Midnight Suns, but we literally have not had a chance to dig into it. So expect that review early next year. When we come back, it'll be fresh as milk in the back of your fridge. But hey, maybe it'll be on sale by then, and you'll want to pick it up.
And same thing with me. I've got a few things that might come in after this comes out, and it's like, well, we'll probably get a review episode out if it's something that I feel is really urgent, and if not, it's something we'll talk about in the new year.
Yeah. So as a programming note, if you don't listen to anything else this year, we do have a Game Awards show, which is our last live show for 2023. We are back on the 3rd Monday of January. So we have more loose cannons, future imperfects. I am back on those shows more consistently now that I know my schedule for school. So there's just going to be a lot of really neat stuff for us to talk about on TWIG in 2023. I hope you guys have a safe and happy holiday. Most importantly, treat everybody with love and respect this year. But also at the same time, if you're going to have difficulties at the dinner table, be willing to walk away Don't engage in a fight. Be kind. If you can give to local food banks, if you can give to charity drives. In fact, as of this recording, I'm going to a toy drive tonight to donate a teddy bear that I got from Walmart to a local charity drive, and I donate.
Oh,
and I
some kid's going to really appreciate that.
I really hope so. And I donate my Friday mornings to a local food bank here in Guelph, which is known as Chalmers Center. And I hope that really helps people make it through the holidays this year. So if you have the capacity to give this year in any way, it does help. Even if it's buying somebody a coffee, do that. So Alex, any closing messages from you?
Not much, except that, stay close with your friends. Holidays can be rough for a lot of people. Don't be afraid to reach out. And if you don't feel you can talk to somebody, close to you and your family, reach out to one of us. We're always here to talk.
Absolutely. So guys, with all that in mind, thank you to all our partners, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Cubicle 7, Modifius, Gale Force 9, Konami, Digital Eclipse, everybody. I'm sure I've missed a crap ton of people. Mill Creek. You are all fantastic. Thank you for helping us create this wonderful piece of content. We look forward to working with you all in 2023. So for ThisWeekInGeek.net, we have been
Alex the Producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman, saying happy holidays, however you choose to celebrate it. But most importantly, be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next year in 2023.
No candy for you, chub monster, until you tell me everything you know about these red-bearded men who smell of ham and vomit!
Oh, you must mean Santa.